my wonderful students. You're welcome to today's class with Miss Elizabeth. And today we're going to be looking at common grammatical errors in English language. You know, a lot of students, they make mistakes in spoken and written English because they just make silly mistakes or errors that should have been avoided if they have been just a little more careful. So today we're going to examine some of these errors and we're going to look at the correct thing to say. We're going to start with errors with verbs. A lot of students, in their usage of verbs in English language, they make some little mistakes. And the first error we're looking at today is the wrong use of the verb form used to. For instance, a sentence like, he has stopped smoking, but he still used to drink too much. It is grammatically incorrect. Okay? The correct thing to say is that he has stopped smoking, but he still drinks too much, because there is no such thing as the present form of the verb used to. Used to is the correct form of a verb indicating that a habit or routine was in the past and has been done away with. So you can have a grammatically correct sentence like, he used to work with the Federal Ministry of Education, but now he has resorted to private tutoring. The second problem a lot of students have with verbs is that they usually have expressions where they omit the verb to have and they have the noun and the participle. An example of such sentence is this: he went to the barber's to cut his hair. That sentence is grammatically incorrect. It ought to be, he went to the barber's to have his hair cut. Now, if you look at the first sentence, it means that he actually went to the barber's, but he is going to use the clipper on himself and not the barber doing it for him. Okay? The second example is like the first. He went to the doctor to examine himself. That is actually wrong. It will mean that he went to the doctor to carry out a medical examination on himself by himself. So the correct thing to say is that he went to the doctor to have himself examined. Okay? So I want you to take note of that so that the next time you're writing or you're speaking, you don't repeat an error like that. The next error we're looking at is what I call false verbs. There are some words in English language that people consider or they treat them as verbs, but in the real sense, these words are not verbs. They could be nouns, adjectives, or adverbs, as the case may be. So in this class, we're going to be looking at 3 examples of such words. The first word is horn, which is a noun. The second is opportune, which is an adjective. And the third word is jealous, which is also an adjective. Let's examine the first word, horn. Now, the word horn in this context is a noun, and it refers to a loud alarm, usually found in a car. So it would be wrong for you to say, you must horn before overtaking. It actually sounds ridiculous, all right? The correct thing to say is that you must sound your horn before overtaking. Let's move on to the next word, opportune. It is wrong for you to say, I wanted to see you, but I was not opportuned. Now you're treating the word opportune as if it is a verb, because only verbs in English language take the past tense marker ed. But this word opportune is an adjective, meaning suitable. So you cannot say, I wanted to see you, but I wasn't opportuned. So the correct thing to say is that I wanted to see you, but I didn't have the opportunity. Opportunity in this context is a noun, meaning a suitable situation or condition to have something done. The next word is jealous. A lot of students make the mistake of treating the word jealous as a verb. It's actually an adjective. So it would be wrong for someone to say, she jealoused the girl who won the essay competition in the last tournament. Okay, just like the first word opportune, the same problem is what we have here. You don't add the past tense marker to an adjective. So the correct thing to say is that she was jealous of the girl who won the essay competition in the last tournament. The next category of errors we're going to be examining are errors with prepositions, prepositional errors. Prepositions could be a little bit tricky. So as a student, you should be very careful of how we use prepositions when writing or speaking. It is wrong for you to use an expression like, we must be at the alert, dogs are in the neighborhood. No, that preposition at doesn't go with the adjective alert. So what we should have is, we must be on the alert. Dogs are in the neighborhood. To be on the alert is to pay attention and observe very carefully and be ready to take actions when necessary. Now, let's examine another sentence. The cooks refused to serve Johnson because he had not been waiting on the queue. Now, on the queue is not very correct. So, the correct thing to say is that the cooks refused to serve Johnson because he had not been waiting in the queue. So, you wait in the queue, you don't wait on the queue. Another prepositional error most students make is the wrong use of the word upon. You hear expressions like, upon all our efforts to help him, he preferred his life of penury. Now, upon all doesn't go well in that sentence. So it would be correct to say, in spite of all our efforts to help him, he preferred his life of penury. Let's examine another sentence. We are still looking at prepositional errors, don't forget that. Yes, a sentence like this, the kids were already on bed when she came in, is not very correct because it implies that the kids were already sleeping before she came in. In this sentence, it means we're trying to say that the kids were already sleeping before she came in. So the correct thing to say would be that the kids were already in bed when she came in. Yes, so when someone is sleeping, you use the preposition in. But when you're talking about any other thing, probably they're not on the blankets and there's a determiner before the word bed, then you can use the preposition on. Now, the last category of grammatical errors in English language we're going to be looking at in this class is what I call adverbial errors. Errors with adverb and other words that perform adverbial functions in a sentence. For instance, you have a sentence like, are you looking for James? He has been here since. Well, that doesn't really go well. It is correct to say, are you looking for James? He has been here for a long time. All right, it is important to note that since cannot mean for a long time. Yes, and since on its own cannot stand alone as an adverb of time. Now, let's consider this other sentence. Peter had no money and Frida hadn't any also. Well, it is grammatically incorrect. The correct thing to say is that Peter had no money and Frida hadn't any either. Yes, you should use either, not also, as an adverb when it comes after a negative verb. So the correct thing to say in that sentence, because our verb there hadn't is in the negative. So the correct thing to say is that Frida hadn't any money either. So you see, there are a lot of errors in English language. We can't exhaust all of them in this lesson, okay? But I am sure that you have learned one or two things from this class. And I believe the next time you speak English or you write English, you won't repeat those errors anymore, right? I'll see you in the next class. Bye for now.